Alright, so here we are then, Saturday 22nd of October. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been here. I have done some work since my last video. Still look at the videos. I'd like to welcome some of the new subscribers. I've had a few over the last couple of weeks, so welcome to the channel, people, and hopefully you've looked back on some of the old videos so you get a flavour of where we're at. So this is where we're at, and this is what I've been up to since the last video. Just trying to get some sort of clean primer on, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Just excuse the noise. There's someone with a needle gun over the way there doing the bottom of his boat. There's dogs in the background over there in the kennels. Anyway, so yeah, it wasn't easy. Took a lot of, I don't know where to start. The initial idea really was to grind these. We've got all sorts of old glue, and there's some sort of, fabric on here covered in what I now believe to be bitumen. Everywhere we look, this is why the boat is black, because it's been tarred. It's been blacked inside. The whole bloody boat has been blacked inside. The initial idea was just to scrape off all this surface rust with a wire wheel and then give it a coat of zinc phosphate primer. You can see we've got quite a lot of surface rust, and then this looks like some sort of gloss here. This is gloss, which see, in the old boat, this looks like blacking. This looks like blacking. So the idea was just to scrape off the surface rust and give it a coat of zinc phosphate. But the problem is, the zinc phosphate reacts with the blacking to the point where it just bubbles and scrapes off again. And then we've got the problem that you can give this a coat of zinc phosphate. That's actually 3 coats there, because it took so long for the blacking to stop bleeding through. But then it's all superficial anyway, because when you get to these parts, this is angle iron, so you can't actually get in there. It's hard to see what's going on in there, and by the time you put a paintbrush in there covered in primer or zinc phosphate or any, whatever you've got on your brush, by the time it's picked up all the dust and crap that's sitting in there, you're not painting anything, you're just moving dust about on the end of a paintbrush. And then you've still got all this surface rust in here. And you don't, it's just, it is time consuming, it is bloody horrible, it is filthy. Well, I guess really it's looking alright. It's looking better than it was anyway. And to tell you the truth, I was expecting to come back and see a load of rust, but the zinc phosphate seems to be holding out well. Trouble is, down the bottom here, which I haven't got to yet, is we've got this whole framework is angle iron. So that's a lot of trying to get up into there with a wire brush and then coat the front side and the underside. It's going to be near on impossible, and it's going to be time consuming and a lot of bloody work. I guess it might be worth it if that's what the end result is. Who knows? But yeah, this is why the boat is black, because it's been blacked. Or has it? I don't know. You just cannot tell. It's got the same properties as the blacking on the outside of the boat. It's but then it just looks more of a shiny. It could be gloss, it could be smooth hammerite for all I know. And it is a fucking pain in the arse to try and prime over. See, that looks like blacking. It's dull, it's flat. This looks like gloss, some sort of probably smooth hammerite or something. And then we're back to blacking again. So we can probably say the old boat's blacked. And this, look here, it's dull, it's flat, and it's got the same properties as the boat on the outside. This is the trouble with it being blacked as well. Blacking doesn't bond to metal, it just stays on there. So every time you touch it with a wire wheel, it goes right back down to bare metal. And if you're going to bare metal one, say like that section there, then you might as well bare metal the whole lot. You don't get any leeway or any give. It's all or nothing. So we've got 63 foot times 2 and the roof to going back to bare metal and prime. And yeah, we've got a lot of surface rust, so it's going to be worth doing. It's definitely going to be worth doing. It's going to be a mammoth task. So don't expect it to be done like anytime soon. And the other thing I found along the way is this dirty great hole in the bulkhead. Now we're going to have to cut it out, put a new bulkhead in. As to the extent of that, whether it's just like all the way, or just cutting out the rot, I don't know. You've got to see how rotten this is down here. But that big, dirty, great big hole there. And the other side of that is the old gas locker. And if you look back to some of my old videos, you'll see that when I was ripping out the wood panelling, this corner was absolutely damp, black with damp. And you could tell the boat had been full of water in at least the last 2 bilges. Now that would make sense because the old gas locker was completely full of water and it had old rubble in it, broken paving slabs, probably some half-assed attempt at putting ballast in the back of the boat, and all it did was hold water and rot the gas lockers. Now, if that water from the gas locker had then leaked, rotted through the bulkhead basically, leaked down this corner, and then filled these last 2 bilges with water, that's why it's so rusty down here. That's why the whole floor was damp and the panelling was damp. Now I think if I get the rest of these paving slabs up, if we start looking, I know for a fact further down the front of the boat, the bilges look clean. So that could, rather than a leak further towards the front that's come all the way down and then settled here, I think we're looking at the culprit there. The old gas locker filled with rubble has rotted through the bulkhead and filled the last two bilges full of water. So I'm hoping, so that's on the list anyway, to get rid of those two old gas lockers. So now it looks like once we get rid of those two old gas lockers out there, we're going to have to replace the bulkhead as well. I'm going to get rid of that pipe as well, because it's just gathering. It's just, you can't get in there to sort out all the shit, and in that corner it's going to be somewhere where moisture is gathered, so we've got to try and look at that corner, and hopefully everything's superficial. But that pipe just it ends here anyway. It's been cut here. It should go all the way to the well deck, but it doesn't. It's been cut there, it's been cut there, so I'm just going to get rid of it. It's doing nothing except gathering dust, and dust is gathering moisture, and moisture is creating shitty rust spots. So we've got a lot on this weekend, maybe doing some more wire wheel. Yeah, whatever we do. It's just all progress, I guess. Slow progress, but progress nonetheless. So I've just started taking some of these slabs out just along this side here, just so we can get the gist of what's going on. And as suspected and as thought, these bilges here are rusty. They get progressively less rusty as they go until we get to here, and then from there on it seems like the boat's pretty sound, as far as I can recall, under these boards. But what we've got here is, once we get the pavers up, so yeah, you can see it's rusty up until there. That's because that would have been sitting with the stern end lower in the water, so all the water's running that way. So it's filled up with water up to about here really. And from there, you'll see these bilges look like they've just been blacked, and then on top of the blacking, I don't know if you remember one of my previous videos where we found out under the blacking got a layer of roofing felt. Quite rusty, but we're getting better as we go. This is just all surface rust now. Roof and felt I'm going to take up. Right, So all I really wanted to do is prove to myself that the water, the bilges are getting less and less rusty the further up the boat they go. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 heavy sections before it starts to get to the point where it's surface and then to the point where it's pretty clean, you know, pretty clean. So we do look like, this does look like it's just blacked. It's just blacked. And then a layer of roofing felt. All I was trying to do is convince myself that I think that's the source of the problem, and the water never got any further than here. And it's just because of that old gas locker, which has got to be sorted out. So hopefully we'll get this pipe out that runs along here. We can find out. We'll get the wire wheel down in this corner, and hopefully, I mean, we can see there, just surface rust. Wire wheel, been about 10 jobs are good, and hopefully underneath that pipe isn't too rotten. And we need to get that pipe out to get the wire wheel in there. The pipe itself is bloody rusty with it. In between rubber sections, there's metal sections. This is just a shambles. I really want to just get that out, get in there and wire wheel, make sure the corners are alright. And then while we're at it, down in this corner, really find out what's going on. A lot of rust to kill here. Yeah, we'll find out. And that hopefully, if we just cut that rot out. It's all black now because I treated it with Vactan. If we cut that rot out, it hasn't done the hull too much harm. It's pretty solid. You can just see that where it's just been leaking down. It's just been coming in from that old gas locker, leaking down. And that's why it was all damp down there. And the bilges are rusty, so hopefully the rest of the boat, the bilges will be fine, because it's not a leak that's come all the way down the boat. It started down the lowest point in the first place.
From listening to records, I just knew what to do. I shot myself. And, you know, I did pretty well, except there were a few mistakes. But, I have just recently cleared up. I'd like to just continue to be able to express myself as best as I can. And I feel like I have a lot of work to do still. I'm a student. And I'm also a teacher. Still.
wishes of human beings. That was to symbolise so the crowd reaches out to the floor, assimilating and distributing all he receives, slowly, until it becomes a part of him.
State of that filter, look. That was fresh on this morning. Wow. And I'm pretty satisfied that, apart from the obvious pitting, which is to be expected when it's been so rusty, apart from that, it is pretty solid. Once you get rid of the flaky rust, it's got a pitted, solid metal. And this is why we need to scrape the roof, because we've got surface rust. It's more than surface rust, it's quite heavy surface rust. We've just got to wire wheel that, and then these cross members are covered in like, it's like a canvas, look. It's canvas and it's been painted. It's like exhaust wrap material, do you know what I mean? Like what's an elastoplast made of? It's like that. And it's absolutely caked in some sort of glue or bitumen. Probably bitumen if the inside of the boat's been blacked. So we're just going to scrape all that off as well, because that was the initial problem. And you can see here, look, where the bitumen is glazing, like cracking, like it does. This looks exactly like the outside of the boat, so it has definitely been blacked, you know, which is a problem, because it means everything's got to come right back off back to bare metal, because nothing like sitting on top of bitumen. So it's got to be wire brushed, and it's not just a case of wire brushing the rust spots. It's you've got to wire brush the whole lot just to get the blacking off. Otherwise, you can't paint anything else on top. Well, that was another full day of wire wheels, and like I said, the trouble is you get to the point where you just wire wheeling the rust and you have to take off everything that comes with it. So now we've got all these sections here. Back to some sort of semblance of bare metal. So hopefully we can get some zinc phosphate on there. Good morning. So that was another full day of grinding back. Basically, like I said, every time you take any rust, you have to start grinding back the whole lot, because it starts coming with the rust, and then what's left is no good for zinc phosphate. So we've got some backdown going on in some of the hard to reach areas where we can't reach it with the wire wheel, and then most of these sections here now ground back, ready for a nice shiny coat of zinc phosphate. Still got some remnants of bitumen going on here. So yeah, but it's pretty good. Sides are a bit disappointing. Can't seem to shift the bitumen off of them. It's on pretty good. We've ground down any rust spots that we can, but we've still got stubborn bastard bitumen going on. Got rust spots. See, this is what I'm on about. You can grind down the rust with a wire wheel, and that's great. But then when it comes to putting on your, this has been ground down with a wire wheel, and it's stayed. The bitumen is still there, and the zinc phosphate does not like taking to the bitumen. So we're going to have some fun here today. Just seeing how we can get that to take. On the other hand, absolutely chucking it down outside. Glad I've got the tarps on. Otherwise this engine bilge would be full of water again. There's a prime example there of how the bitumen reacts with the zinc phosphate. Just bleeds through. You can't paint it. You've seen some of the earlier stuff I've done this morning. And you actually look, it's going to need a second coat, I think. Yeah, you can see already that it started to react as a reaction. Here's the trouble we got. We're putting on the zinc phosphate primer, which I thought was a better primer than red oxide or grey oxide because it's zinc phosphate. It's zinc, it's a good primer. It's supposed to have better rust in properties. But because this has been blacked with blacking, I mean, I've gone over this with a wire wheel, and we're still getting, wherever there's traces of blacking, it's reacting with the zinc phosphate in such a way the zinc phosphate is just turning to mush. It's like the zinc phosphate acts like a thinners in the bitumen. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Flipping mess. Trying to paint over bitumen with anything, I don't think is going to work out well. I've gone over all this with a wire wheel. Look, we're down to bare metal. It's just the slightest bit of bitumen residue, just like that. And the zinc phosphate don't like it.
Maybe you should cancel it right now, Steve. Better safe than sorry. Capital One
Jesus.
lets you lock your card with one tap.
I'm just having real problems with this zinc oxide taken to anywhere there's just the slightest bit of bitumen, which is weird because it's taken there on the side, and you can see red oxide takes alright, really well. So I don't understand. Red oxide is a solvent based, same as zinc phosphate, but the zinc phosphate really don't like going on top of this bitumen. Whereas see the red oxide doesn't mind going on top of it. There's evident on here as well. Don't get half as much problems with red oxide as we do with zinc phosphate. So I think I have to try. I've managed to get all these ribs done. Although there's so many problems where there's bitumen still left over. Some of them are really good where it's gone down to bare metal. And it's really taken well. But most of the time we're having real problems because of the bitumen. So, has anyone else come across this before where the whole boat has been blacked? I mean, inside and out, top to bottom. Jesus. Well, I've done a rough coat, just one coat. It's not taking well. Anytime there's any blacking left over like here, it's just reacting. And you end up with it's like a skin. So the not good at all. In the areas it takes, it's great. And it might be worth doing a second coat, I guess, on some of the areas where it's taken. But we are getting so many areas where the paint is just reacting. It's not so bad there. Be alright with a second coat. Maybe we'll just carry on building the coats up then and scraping off where it's reacting. It's not good. Not good at all. Just tried it with some red oxide, it's the same. Just has a chemical reaction with the tar. I mean, you could leave it like that and let it dry and give you a base to paint onto. But it's acting like a paint stripper. It's not good at all. Leave it to dry. See what that would. See what that will. And if you leave it to dry, I mean, this lot took 3 coats to do this end of the boat, and you just have to keep going over it. You know, just keep putting a base coat down, let that dry, and then put another base coat down, and let that dry, and then put another base coat down. And eventually you just cover up the bitumen. It's bloody hard work though. From that to that, we're getting there. It's not easy. There's a technique I've got, it's called putting on a really, really rough coat, letting it dry, using it as a base coat. You can still see some of the bitumen reacts with the paint, it doesn't take. There's nothing you can do with that. You can't keep caking paint on because it's just a chemical reaction happening all the time. You gotta leave that to dry, fully go off. Like, you know, I'll come back to that. There's still places where the paint hasn't taken. Gone over the ceiling now about 3 times. Just, you know, it's looking alright. It's looking alright. It's getting there. Yeah. I know full well though when I come back next week, or the weekend after, or maybe in a month's time, who knows, maybe I've had enough of this year. But I know all this grey will look like someone's been in here smoking 20 a day for 40 years, because we will have bleed through like that. Because this was done 2 weeks ago. See? Bleed through. And I've just been doing these gunnels and they are bleeding through as I'm doing them. You can't stop the bleed through. So yeah, but it's looking less rusty. Got a lot of bitumen to cover though when we get down the bottom. We'll have to find a different solution, I think. Maybe just black it again. Might be the way forward. Black the base plate, black the hull. Does anyone know if I could black the hull and would that have an effect on the spray foam? Answers in the comments, please. worried about putting bitumen paint all over the bottom of the, from the gunwales down, and then finding out that spray foam won't take to bitumen paint. Not a lot does take to bitumen paint, does it? That'll do for today. Just let all that dry now fully, and wait for the bleed through. Better than that anyway. Better than that. Yeah, that's what it was like. So that's what it's like now. Anything's got to be better than what it was, I suppose.